All right, what's going on YouTube? This is Boxingwave, and we are back with another fight breakdown between Chris Eubank Jr. and Liam Smith. It's going down on January 21st, and it's going to be on Sky Sports TV. Now, US, we don't have a broadcaster yet for the US. All right, so hopefully somebody picks it up, whether it definitely won't be the Zone, but maybe ESPN or somebody can pick this fight up. All right, I would definitely like to see this fight. But a solid fight, not a bad fight, not a fight that I'm crazy about. I think at this point, I think most of us really want to see Chris Eubank Jr. with a real competitive, tough fight at 160. We wanted to see him against one of the top guys at 160. We wanted him against Andrade. We wanted him against Triple G or Jamel Charlo, somebody like that. Jaime Munguia is cool, Janibek. All of those guys are all cool. Liam Smith is actually a junior middleweight who's going to be coming up to fight Chris Eubank Jr. All right. But Liam Smith is not bad. Liam Smith is a good fighter, respectable fighter. He's been around. They both, if you really look at their resumes, they're both in their age. They're both around the same age. Liam is 34. Eubank is 33 years old. Eubank has 32 wins, 23 knockouts with 2 defeats. And Liam has 32 wins with 19 knockouts and 3 defeats and 1 draw. All right, but they've both been in the ring with some really good fighters. All right, I think with them both, they don't have any top tier wins on their resume. They've fought some respectable guys and have wins over respectable fighters, and they had good performances against some of the top tier fighters, but they don't have that it win yet. Neither one of them do. All right, but Chris Eubank is the star here. He's the one. He's the A side here. He's the one that's making Liam Smith come up to fight him. And he is naturally a bigger man. Chris Eubank has fought at 168 and was 160 majority of his career. But he was able to pick up an IBO title up at junior middleweight when he was in that tournament where he fought George Groves in the World Boxing Super Series tournament. All right, had that loss, but Chris Eubank, for the most part, has some decent wins. I think his best wins on paper is probably against James DeGale, who was definitely fading at that time. If you saw the Calvin Truax fight, you would know that James has definitely faded at that point. James had one of his best wins and best fights against Andre Durrell, in a couple years after that for Truax, lost to Truax. Went life and death with Truax even in the rematch, which he won. But by the time he got to Chris Eubank Jr., he just kind of was really fading, and that was his last fight, which he took a L in. All right, but Chris Eubank Jr.'s probably one of his best performances in his career is actually in defeat against Billy Joe Saunders in a fight that was a very, 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 very quick, close fight. Matter of fact, it was actually a split decision loss. Okay, fight that could have easily been a draw. I think the fight was a draw. I think Chris clearly won the second half of the fight, and Billy Joe Saunders was clearly winning the first half. All right, but outside a couple solid wins, Spike O'Sullivan, James DeGale, he has some solid wins, but the 2 best fighters that Eubank has fought, Billy Joe Saunders and George Groves, are what 2 losses that he took. All right, George was very heavier than him though, so you can make an argument that no one has really dominated him. He's never been down. I don't believe he's ever been dropped. I don't think he's ever been, he definitely hasn't been knocked out, but very durable fighter. And then you got Liam Smith, who is also very durable. All right, first loss to Canelo Alvarez, where he was stopped. I think Canelo was just too much for him to handle at that time. Lost to Jaime Munguia, but another fight that I remember seeing it, and I remember it being very competitive. Okay, Munguia won, but Liam Smith gave him a good fight, and even a more recent loss against Magomed Kurbanov, which I actually went back and watched some of it the other day, and I think that a lot of that, my film study was based on that fight because of similarities of Magomed I know he's a Russian, or I think, is he Russian or Ukrainian? He's a Russian fighter. And a very slick style, moves a lot, got good timing, likes to use that Philly shell, and uh another fight that I thought was very, very close. Was very close. Magomed was definitely outboxing him from the outside, and then Liam Smith, started to put pressure on him, and that's what he does. He's a very durable fighter, but he's not a long-range fighter. That's the thing with Liam Smith. He fights with a tight high guard with his elbows tucked together, and, he just wants to walk you down, and he'll work, the longer the fight goes, there's a good chance he's going to outwork you in the second half of his fights. Because he's extremely durable. Yes, Canelo did stop him, but that's Canelo. Because Canelo is better on the inside, which is where Liam Smith is strong. That's his strong point. And Canelo was just too much for him to handle. But the other fights, no one's ever really dominated Liam Smith. I would say Liam Smith best win was probably the Liam Williams fight. The first fight between him and Liam Williams, where he stopped Williams. The thing is, they had a rematch in the very next fight, and Liam Williams, it was a win on Smith. I think it was a split decision. Let me check, because I have everything up here just in case I forget anything. It was a majority of decision. Okay, so there was a judge that had it a draw. But I personally think that Williams could have edged out the second fight. I think it was very debatable. Okay, I went back and watched some of it the other day, and very, very close fight. All right, so both good fighters, just no amazing win, but they're both good. They're respected. They're going to give anybody a tough fight, so don't look at the numbers. You look at the losses. If you haven't seen the fight, you got to watch the fights. Neither one of them has ever really been dominated like that. I think Canelo Alvarez did win pretty clear against Smith, but that's Canelo at the end of the day. All right, so in this fight here, what are my thoughts? And I'm not going to hold you guys long. Again, the height, the reach, the size advantage goes to Chris Eubank Jr. All right. Now, Liam is a guy that's been fighting at 154 his whole career. He's fought above the weight before, but he's a 154 guy, and he's 34 years old. And he's going to be moving up. And I don't know what that means. It could be better for him. Maybe he could sit down on his punches a little bit better. Maybe he won't be as dream. Maybe it'll be better for him. I know that when they had a presser or like their face off, I saw that there was comments he made about the weight, that he was trying to have some sort of catch weight there and possibly meet Eubank Jr. in the middle, and that wasn't happening. But it made me feel a little bit, I don't know, maybe there was a little lack in confidence there for him to move up and fight Chris Eubank at 160. I think it's a great opportunity for Liam, because Chris, who, yes, he's the bigger fighter. Yes, he has the better KO ratio and stuff like that. And yes, he is a star here. I'm still have questions about him and his style of being, having this Roy Jones type of style. All right, and we all know that Roy Jones has been with him for the last several fights. But he hasn't fought any top tier fighters. Now, he did fight Liam Williams in this last fight, and he was able to drop Liam Williams 4 times in that fight. With that being said, though, and there's a big but here, he had some major stamina issues once we got to around the 6th round, okay? And it seemed like if it wasn't for those knockdowns, all right, and I know the knockdowns count. I'm not trying to dismiss the knockdowns, but the knockdowns I feel bailed him out for this fight. If you look at the rounds where there wasn't a knockdown score, I thought that Liam Williams was outworking him. I think Eubank's jab definitely saved him. And I guess, again, not trying to dismiss the knockdowns or the jab, but it seemed like everything else that Eubank Jr. was throwing, it just didn't seem to really land much. And I'm a big Roy Jones fan, clearly. Like, that's my guy. And I watched him many times over the years, and I see the similarities in how Eubank is throwing his punches. The problem is with Roy Jones in that particular style, he led a lot with power. The angles, the speed, the power, the quickness. Eubank is finding a style where he doesn't seem to be as athletic. He's not as explosive. He could be explosive, but him fighting that way, I see flaws in his game a little bit, and that was the one key thing that I was worried about with the Conor Ben. Even though I thought Eubank was going to win, a lot of that was based on size. I think if the two were equal size, I would probably pick Conor Ben to win that fight. To be honest, I think Conor Ben has a little bit more potential with his style. And I think he's also pound for pound wise is in a tougher division. Because even if you dismiss Bud Crawford and Spence, you still got all of these other guys like Ortiz and Boots and Stanionis, all these good young fighters that you have to worry about. So with all that being said, Chris Eubank and his style, the jab worked very well against Liam Williams. It worked very, very well, and he was able to time it and throw a very stiff jab right when Liam Williams was about to lunge in, and he kept catching him right on his chin and putting him down. I think he put him down 4 times in that fight. But outside of that, very slow at times, seemed very gassed at times, was getting hit with a lot of overhand rights. He keeps his gloves down way too low, and was able to just keep taking right hands. Lucky for him, he's very durable, but he seemed to be burnt out. And I remember before getting with Roy, Liam didn't have that same kind of slickness, didn't move as much, could fight on the back foot, but that definitely wasn't his strength. The Chris Eubank that I felt was at his prime, or maybe in his better performances, is when he was being a bully. When he was just being totally destructive and outworking his opponents, not simply just outboxing his opponents. And I feel that this new style, it's not that it's bad for him. I think what Roy has done in transforming him is good, but I think that he needs to find a middle ground, like a hybrid version of himself. We need a little bit of the old, where he can rally late and destroy you by going to the body, by using his size and his strength and his power, by fighting on the inside, and bring a little bit of that finesse that Roy Jones has taught him, and working behind the jab and using his legs. If he is able to find a way, a middle ground there, I think he would be his best, not just for this fight, but if he is to get a future big fight at 160 against Golovkin or Canelo, or maybe not Canelo at 160, but if he were to get a Canelo fight in the future, because these are the fights that he's looking for, and he does have a name at this point. I think the whole Conor Ben build-up definitely even put his name out there even more. But if he is going to fight a top tier middleweight at some point, I think he's going to have to find some balance in the way he used to fight with the way he fights now, because just simply fighting by like Roy, I don't think he has, the lead left hooks, those lead uppercuts that he was throwing against Liam Williams, he just kept missing the mark. Like, I just don't think he has the timing down pat. And Liam Williams is not like some slick defensive fighter like that. And I just seen him missing way too much. He's just wasting too many punches, which led to him being tired, and gassed. And I think he needs to find a way to adjust in the fight, because I think if he really started to make it a physical fight, maybe he figured that maybe he would have been giving Liam Williams an advantage because that's the way Liam Williams likes to fight. But I think he needs that, and I think he would have probably stopped Liam Williams if, I mean, remember, at the end of the day, he's fought at bigger weights than Liam Williams. I think if he started to walk Liam Williams down and make Liam Williams force him to go backwards, he probably not would have just knocked him down a few times. He probably would have stopped him at some point, you know? So I think with Eubank, I think that's one thing he needs to change, and I think his guard is just too low. He just took too many right hands, and he just doesn't have the reflexes to get out of the way of the amount of right hands he caught in that Liam Williams fight. Now, when it comes to Liam Smith, his style not really that deep. Again, he's not a long range type of fighter. He has a jab. He does work behind the jab, but it's usually a way to get himself closer in range. He's more of a mid-range, sit in the pocket type of guy, And once he really gets you going, he's a guy that likes to come forward. Once he really gets you going and he's coming forward, he's really hard to hit clean because that guard is really tight. And if he's not fighting guys that's throwing pump combinations like a Canelo, which he has it, if he's not fighting guys like him that can get through that guard and around the guard, they're going to have an issue with him, the longer the fight goes, because you can just be outpointing him and outscoring from the outside. But if you start slowing down, which is most likely going to happen, he's going to get in range and start getting to your body. He's going to start landing some overhand rights. That's what he's going to land in this fight against Chris Eubank Jr., especially because of what we saw in the Williams fight, where, you can just time the right hand over and over to shoot it. Chris, he'll throw the jab. It doesn't bring it back. He drops it low, and you can just connect and counter with right hands all day, if you're close enough. And I think Liam Williams is going to definitely be able to do that the longer the fight goes, all right? And that really depends on Eubank. I think Eubank could possibly stop him, but again, he's not going to stop him fighting him the way that he fought Liam Williams. Liam Smith is much more durable than Liam Williams, in my opinion. I know Williams is like a tough guy, and I know he's very aggressive, but Smith is very durable, And if you're not going to start putting punches together and go into his body and really just putting it on him, you're not going to get Williams out of here. You're not going to, the jab that knocked down Williams when Chris Eubank fought him, it's not going to be enough. I think it's going to be great for scoring shots and staying at range, but I don't think it's going to be enough to just put him down the same way. I think Williams can be kind of clumsy and reckless the way he comes in, and that's why he kept getting caught. Smith is not that kind of fighter. I think Smith is going to do good landing jabs and landing the overhand right, trying to get on the inside. And if he could, and he could get Eubank on the ropes at times, then he can get some work done, especially to the body, wear him down, slow him down like we saw in the Williams fight, and have some success there. But again, it really depends on Chris Eubank and what type of fight he's going to bring. Is he going to bring the exact same thing we've been seeing in recent fights, where he's going to be using his legs around a lot and staying at range and using the jab, working behind the jab? Or are we going to get a Eubank that's a little similar to the way he used to fight, where he's going to be coming forward, being aggressive, going to the body, being a bully in there, being really physical, like the way we saw against James DeGale. Even his losses to Saunders and Groves, being really physical. If we get that, I think we need a little bit of both if we get a stoppage. But I'm not expecting a stoppage, unless Chris really goes to the body. He needs to go back to really going to the body in order for us. Let's get some hooks to the body. Let's get a little bit more physical if he wants a stoppage. If he wants it. He is fighting a smaller guy, so be a bully. But I expect him to box early and be physical later. He's gonna have to be, because Liam is gonna be coming towards him, and I think at some point he's gonna have to adjust, especially when Liam begins to really close the distance on him continuously. All right. But I have Chris Eubank Jr. winning. I didn't check the odds before. I'm assuming Chris Eubank is going to be a favorite for this. So if I were to bet and place a bet, I would probably place it for Eubank just straight up. I wouldn't bet on like the KO or the decision, because I think Eubank is going to win, but I just don't know how. I think Liam Smith has a chance of having some great success, but I don't expect him to win. Chris is just too durable, and even if Chris slows down and starts to get hit often, I just don't think Liam Smith is that enough of a monster to just destroy him and stop Chris or even win. You know, I just don't think it'll be enough. Liam is good. He's durable, and he just doesn't throw his punches, let his hands go enough for me to think that he can stop Chris Eubank Jr. You know, so I have Chris Eubank winning this one. You know, I'm leaning more towards the decision, but I think a stoppage is possible. It'll be impressive if he does get a stoppage, but I'm not expecting it. All right. And that's my review of the fight. Again, this fight is, as far as right now, is not being broadcasted in the US. If things change, I will let you guys know, but it will be on Sky Sports. All right. So not sure if I'm going to cover the fight live, because we don't have access to Sky Sports. But if someone like a Fight TV or ESPN or whoever picks up the fight, then maybe we can get the fight, and maybe I can cover it. All right. But a solid fight, not a huge fight, not a great fight. We definitely want more from Chris Eubank. Good fight for Liam, but not so much for Chris Eubank. All right. So that's my views. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Smash that like button as well, and share the video if you could. Happy New Year, and I'll see you guys on the next live. Peace.